You're listening to Post-Traumatic Stress, hosted by Charlotte Dee, a podcast to connect creatives and communicate about the highs and lows of working in a creative industry. Hi, and welcome to Post-Traumatic Stress. We're coming to you from a little bit of a strange environment at the moment in Corona times. So we're coming to you via Zoom recording and via audio. We've been missing for a little while, and that was because, as I'm sure all of you as creatives understand, things happen, things get in the way, but also I managed to fracture my back, and that sort of popped things on hold for a little while. But we are back with Series 2 and super excited. And today joining me, I have Sarah Guillot, who is someone I know and love, and she is a writer, she is an actor, she is a teacher, she is a blogger, she is a singer, she is a puppeteer, and an all-round fabulous gal. Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and say hi?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good actually. I think that's a pretty good summary. It's it's super tricky to explain what I do because I do so many different things, and I suppose one of the things that is missing out of that list is mother, because a lot of my life is being a mum as well, and that's an interesting thing as a creative artist and as a person to have in your life. But certainly, I've had a really, thinking about what people that don't know me, my background is particularly, I started with contemporary performance, which is now the Bachelor of Performing Arts at WAPA, and I think that's kind of shaped who I am as a creative artist. And it might give people out there, if they're familiar with that performing arts course, a bit of an idea of where I come from, because it's a very creative course and encourages you to do lots of different things. So I have done lots of different things, including puppetry, devised shows, directing. Shakespeare is one of my loves, my absolute loves. Yeah, one of my passions. So I guess I call myself multi-passionate because I love doing so many different things, and I don't really have a box to put myself in at the moment, and that can be an uncomfortable thing. But I think it's one of the things that, well, we might talk about that, or we might talk about other things, but I'm sure that there are other people out there that feel similarly sometimes, that there's just not, it's not easy to find something to call yourself.
I think that's a great lead in to what we want to talk about today. And today is all about why do you wait? What to do while you wait, not why do you wait? Although sometimes it feels like that. I think that's why that subconsciously came out. Why do you wait?
Well, yeah, I have things to say about that. I'm sure you know. So yeah.
Well, today we wanted to both talk about what do you do while you wait, whether it's waiting because of your choice as a creative person. So maybe you're not being cast or selected to work, or maybe at the moment it's just crazy Corona times and you're being forced to wait inside your house. But what do you do as a creative person or as an actor while you wait? And we've got some themes in particular that we'd like to discuss today. And those are things like you have permission to be here. It's all about, we want to talk about defining yourself, knowing yourself, and supporting yourself ultimately. And I think a good place to start for me would be you have permission to be here. And what do we mean by that? So part of an actor, or being a writer is not performing and not being commissioned and not having inspiration. And that's okay. I think
it's okay. Yeah, I guess I'm really glad to be talking about this stuff, because I actually think this is kind of the next hyphenate, or like next passion area for me, is about artist well-being. Because I mean, just to share a bit about my own personal journey, I've always doubted myself. Always. And I look back, now that I'm in my 30s, I look back and I'm like, why did you spend so much time doubting yourself? And what I found as time went on, when I was acting, and then I concentrated on acting for quite a while, and then I moved into directing. And when I moved into directing, I could see that so many actors were struggling with the exact same things as I had gone through. And so I found it really rewarding to talk to people about particularly things like that, like you have permission to be here. it constantly blows me away how much actors are like just constantly judging themselves. And I guess that's how it ties into now. I think we judge ourselves so much by the time we spend not acting, which to me is ridiculous, because actually, as you say, it is part of our job to not act. And I'm sure we're going to dig more into the what can we do while we're not acting. But I think we have to start with just telling ourselves that it is normal to have times where you're not acting. Why are we giving ourselves such a hard time about this? I mean, apart from, I think we have to stop giving away our power.
Yeah.
I think we have to stop thinking about it as I haven't been hired and therefore I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
I think, we talked about it a little while ago, and I said I don't really like thinking about it as waiting, because I don't think of it as waiting. This, to me, this is not a waiting period. And as an actor, I don't think you should ever be waiting. If you're waiting, I think you're doing it wrong. But maybe I sort of feel like there's a couple of areas to dig into there, but maybe I might sort of talk a bit about permission first, and then we can sort of dig into the crux of what the not waiting version of an actor's life could be.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, that sounds good. I think this idea of, like you say, like if you're not working, you're therefore not an actor. And the constant conversations that you have when you meet people and you go to auditions, and I feel like the first thing out of their mouths is like, "Oh, so what are you in?
What are you working on right now?"
It just makes me feel so crushed and like, "Oh, nothing. Therefore, I am crap. Therefore, I am not an actor." Or writing, or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, there's so many things. My brain's like, there's so many things to talk about and to think about. Yeah, I think, first, we have to stop putting so much pressure on ourselves to always be doing something. And for people out there, one of the things that I do is I have a blog called The Creative Actor. And one of the things I've been blogging about recently is how to be an actor when you're not acting. Part of that, how to be an actor, is about what can you do with your time. And the other part is how can you be. And so if I dig first into being, I think we really need to understand and free ourselves by understanding that we are actors. You choose this. You choose if you're an actor or not. And this is the giving yourself permission. You do not need anybody to tell you that it's okay for you to be an actor. You do not need someone to tell you that you're good enough. You do not need to be given a special part or an award, or you do not need to be accepted to drama school to be an actor. You can choose it, and you can choose it from day dot. You don't have to have done anything. You don't have to have earned any money. It is your choice as a person to be who you want to be. And if you decide that part of your identity is that you are an actor or any sort of creative, that is your business. And you should not let anyone take that away from you, because actually they can't take that away from you. And I think that this time, especially during Corona, when we kind of can't do things, that time where you have to stop and you go, okay, well, what am I and what am I doing? You have to dig down and really ask yourself, who am I? And if the answer is I am a storyteller and I am a creative person, you should not let anyone make you feel like you're not that.
And it doesn't mean you're developing and growing and using your skills, but it's more about giving yourself that permission and identifying as something, whether you're still working that thing. It doesn't mean you're not that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so in the blog that I wrote recently, I was giving the example of like a medical professional, pretty much any industry. You can look at this, and like, if I gave the example of a physio, which I think is an interesting one, because often physios, they can be self-employed, they might be contracted, they might have to market themselves. Similarly to actors, they might not just be employed by a clinic, for example. So that can be tough. But we don't look at a physio and go, okay, well, they only had 3 patients today, or they spent some of their day today making phone calls or cleaning the room. Or we don't look at that and go, they're not a physio because they only had 1 patient today, or they only work 2 days a week as a physio and then they have another job. We don't go, oh, you don't get to be a physio. I'm not we don't get to decide that for them, and we don't tend to. But with actors, there's something about it, and I think we do it more to ourselves than often people on the outside do judge us, I think. But I do think we do it to ourselves as well, that we think, unless I am working full-time as an actor, I'm not an actor. Unless I get all my income as an actor, I'm not an actor. And that is such BS, because unless I've been to Whopper, unless I've got the award at blah, 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 unless I've had a main part, unless I've had this, I've had that.
So what does it mean then to be an actor? What are you saying it means? Like, to give yourself that permission? Is it just living and committing yourself to that? And that's
honestly, sorry, I'm interrupting you, but I think it's your choice. It's your decision to decide what an actor is and how you live your life. It's not anybody else's business. I think we have to ask ourselves that. I think we have to ask, what do I think it means to be an actor? What is it that I want in my life as an actor? If I think it is that I want to be an actor, is it that I want to be working? Is it that I want to be consistently creative with my time? Because you can do that whether you're getting parts or not. You can choose to do that, and that comes into the doing part. Is it that I do actually want some recognition, or I do want a certain amount of money? And those things are fine. I think it is actually, like, don't give yourself a hard time if you actually do want to be famous or you want to have this, that, and the other. The problem is that it can be tied into some
self-worth.
It can be tied into self-worth and ego. And I think it's really fine if you look at it and go, okay, actually, like for me, I've looked at some of my, like, what are my success measures? And one of the things is scale. And that's about not necessarily me as an actor being seen by lots of people, but that I actually want to touch lots of people with what I'm doing. Like, I want to affect people's lives, and I don't want it to be just 20 people. And that's personal to me, because some people might go, I'm happy if I affect one person's life. That's great, but you got to know for yourself what it is that, what is it for you? What's your measure? What's enough for you? And if it's that you need a lot of people to tell you that you are good at something, that's gonna get you into trouble, because
with any role, with any it doesn't matter, acting, writing, being a physio, anything
in life. If you can find in yourself, I feel like I need to do this because I really want people to be like, you're so great at that. You're going to be disappointed, because I think especially in this industry, you are going to get so little of that. People are not going to tell you most of the time. And actually, any industry, but I think particularly this one, because it's very subjective and it can be very unstable, can come and go. You're not going to get a regular reinforcement of your ego. It's not going to happen. So you need to check what your ego needs. If it's your ego that's keeping you here, you need to dig deeper. You'll need to find more about that, because I think for me, there's certainly parts where my ego does pop up. I was thinking about it last night. I was watching some Community, and I find that there's certain points where when you see certain actors or you see certain things in the world and you kind of get a bit triggered and you're like, why aren't I there yet? Like,
I could do that.
I could do that. And like, how come they're like 25 and they've done, they've had an Oscar and a this and a that and whatever. I was watching Community, and there's do you know the actor and singer Donald Glover? He's Childish Gambino.
Not well, but yeah.
Hey, yeah. Anyway, he's in the TV show Community, and he was actually picked up as a writer for 30 Rock when he was 23, and he was like a writer for 30 Rock for years, like a main part of the team. And then he did Community, and he sort of became, and he plays Lando Calrissian in the new Han Solo, not new Star Wars movie. You know that guy. Anyway, does all this as an actor, and he's also a rapper. Childish Gambino, and he's got a massive career as a rapper as well. And I look at him and I'm like, oh my God, isn't he like 35? He's like my age or whatever. And he's done so many things. So successful in so many fields. Like, why can't I be so successful in so many fields? And then I check it, you know, I can feel when this stuff comes up. This is my ego, and I want to be really good at something. I want someone to tell me, hey, you're really good at something.
It's this constant cycle though, isn't it? It's like this constant circle of looking at those ahead of you and admiring them and wishing you were there, but then also the people coming up behind you that may be looking at you and wishing the same thing.
Absolutely.
But even the people that we perceive to be at the top of the circle, wherever, I don't know if there is the top of the circle, to be honest, they have gaps where they're not working, and I would imagine they would be comparing themselves to people. So it's not that we're talking about not working really hard and preparing yourself and doing everything you need to do to hustle to get where you want to go. It's not that we're saying that you can just have permission and you're going to be an actor. Like it's not that. It's more about that inner, what you do while you're not getting that validation from the community, isn't it?
Yeah, I think about the life satisfaction, I suppose. Yeah. Like, what is it that is going to satisfy you in your life? Because yes, absolutely. If you listen to interviews or read interviews with pretty much any well-known actor, including really famous movie actors, they are often expressing the fear that they're never going to work again after their you know, the current project that they're working on. And I was thinking about this actually because I remember I went to see Bill Bailey. Do you know Bill Bailey, the guy that's in Black Books? And so I went to see him, and he was so funny. He was just hilarious, and he's so clever, and I love him from Black Books and all these things. And I was busy laughing, and he's told this story about Simon Pegg, because Simon Pegg was in Black Books with him, and he was talking about how Simon Pegg is now doing like the new he's in Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, and he's like, oh, my friend Simon Pegg, you know, doing a movie with Tom Cruise. And I thought, hang on a second, Bill Bailey is this amazing, so clever, like, because his whole show is comedy, and he's so clever, and he's a musician, and he's all these things. Like, how is Bill Bailey having a fit about, like, it was a joke, but he was, you know, the jealousy around someone that he knew being like this mega movie star. I was like, this never ends. It never ends. And every interview I've ever had with, I've ever had every interview I've ever heard with I'm always interviewing famous people, with celebrities and, you know, big movie actors. They're always talking about this. It's reaffirmed. If you listen for it, you hear it in them. They're afraid. They're anxious. They have ups and downs. They have times when they're not being hired. They have times where they have to take stuff, you know, roles that they didn't want to take, and they feel rubbish about it. Or they get critics after them or whatever. Everybody has this. Everybody goes through it, and there's nowhere to be. There's no end point where suddenly, I think as actors, we think we're going to reach a point where suddenly we're going to feel better, and we're going to feel secure, and we're going to have things flowing.
Yeah, this is it. I don't have to wait anymore. I've finally made it.
I finally made it. Yeah. Everything makes sense. I think there's an element of it, but then you have different problems when you get to that level. I just think about more famous actors. There's even more pressure on them. If they are not getting jobs, they can't go and work at a McDonald's or whatever. I actually read about a Game of Thrones actor who, after Game of Thrones finished, had to go and work in a cafe or something, and people would see her in there and be like, oh, are you here for is it a joke, or like, are you researching?
You're doing research for your role? Yeah.
She's like, my job finished and I don't have any more money and another job, so I'm in a cafe. Like, that's hard. I feel like that's harder than being a not so well-known actor and being like, well, sometimes I do other things.
Yeah. So I think there's this, you need to know yourself and set your own limits, and have, like, so that in these times while you're waiting, you can support yourself and know that you are valuable and that you are still progressing towards your career.
Yeah.
But also, I think in acting, we are also unique. all of us are so unique, and it is a slightly different path, and it's important to remember that and know yourself in a different way, so that you can understand, okay, well, what is it that people, like if we just keep talking about actors, for example, what is it that people are seeing in me? What is my quality? What is my time now? Or do I need to direct my energy somewhere else? Is it, we were talking about this the other day, am I the 30-year-old lead, or is my time potentially going to come when I'm 60? And that's a long time to wait if you want it right now.
Yeah.
Or as a writer, are you going to write your best novel right now, or are you going to be like J.K. Rowling? You know, I don't know how old she was, but I'm sure she.
I think she was only 40 or something. I don't feel like
Okay, well, that used to seem really old, but now that I'm 35, it's not.
I know, right? Well, I think that's the thing, is that a lot of, I mean, we have all this energy when we're in our 20s, and we're thinking that things are going to come really fast. I think especially,
and maybe they will.
But maybe they will, but often they don't. I would say that we need to adjust there's a couple of things. I think we need to adjust our expectations around time frame, for one thing. I think people need to understand that acting, the real time frame for, I would say, getting traction as an actor is 10 years. Success and a level of comfort and kind of like, I don't know, what's the word? The bit where you feel a bit better about yourself is maybe like 15 to 20 years. That is how long it takes to kind of get to a point where you're like, I'm pretty good at this. I would say 15 to 20 years.
And I wonder if that comes from your experience and really knowing yourself, knowing how to use your craft, knowing what it means to you, knowing that you're okay without it because you have a different value system to keep you safe and supported while you pursue.
I think you have to. I think what tends to happen, I think, in the acting world, particularly for women, is that there's a lot of 20-year-old, 25-year-old actors out there. You hit about 30 and everyone starts to drop. Some of that is to do with motherhood or parenthood. If you're a guy, and there's definitely aspects for men as well. But part of it is the long haul thing, is that we thought it was going to take a lot less time, and we get to 30 and we're exhausted. And I saw this happen. You know, you and I are both over 30, and I saw this happen to everybody that I came through with. So people that went through uni with, people that I was working with from a young age. As I started doing like amateur theatre when I was about 18, and then, you know, hit 28, get to 30, and you're like, far out, I've been doing this for 10 years. Do I have another 10 years in me? It's a very draining industry. And I think that's where it comes into, you do need to know yourself. And there's so much to talk about in terms of knowing yourself and understanding
knowing how you want to live your life, even, and knowing that it's okay that you will live this kind of lifestyle and do different jobs while you pursue your passion. Is that what you're choosing?
Yes.
Is that okay with you? And keep going.
No, you know, that's so sorry. There's so much in it. I think I was told by an acting teacher quite early on that she said, you're allowed to say that you're an actor even if you have another job. I think back on that, I still remember her saying that. And I think my goal early on was that I did want to just act and not have another job. And I think these are really good questions to ask yourself as an actor. Is it important to me to just be doing acting and not have another job? Would I be happy if I had another job that is related to acting, for example? Or, you know, could I act and also direct? Is that going to be enough to pay my bills? I think we need to really realistically look at whether we can pay our bills. But also, what makes us feel good? What's going to feel like we're satisfied? And because what I discovered was working as an actor and just acting, there is a lot of downtime, which can be scary, but you're also probably likely to have to take roles that you are not really invested in. And I discovered after a while of kind of having to do that and navigate that, it wasn't working for me. It did make me feel a bit blue when I wasn't doing stuff. Even if I was kind of, you know, writing or whatever, things were in development, I kind of new things were coming, it still kind of felt a bit unstable. There wasn't a lot of structure to my life. And I felt a bit, I felt a bit, it feels not good when you have to do stuff that you're like, oh, I don't really believe in this project.
Yeah, and it's
That's
so tricky because it's that mix of, there's also this hustling side of acting or connect to anyone who works as a creative, the hustling networking scene. And yes, you might not, I mean, it depends how much you don't agree with this project. Like, is it really going against every value, or are you just like, oh, I really want to work on something that I enjoy? Because it's that balance. Are you sacrificing your values to do something that you shouldn't be doing and really know you shouldn't be doing and potentially wasting your time? Or is it part of, like, there's always parts of the job that aren't necessarily what we love? Those quirks, I don't know.
It's an interesting one. Well, and can I swear on this?
Sure, swear coming up.
You can bleep it out. So Elizabeth Gilbert, she's a writer of Eat, Pray, Love. She's an interesting writer. She has a book called Big Magic, which I highly recommend, as any creative person should read Big Magic, because it talks about living a creative life.
I have that sitting on my bedside table, and I have opened the cover once, and I am determined to read it.
Yeah, I actually listened to it as an audiobook, which is quite interesting because she narrates it. Anyway, but she talks about, what is your favourite flavour of shit sandwich?
I was expecting much worse.
Oh, yeah, no, bear in mind. It's mild. What's your favourite flavour of shit sandwich? So every job is going to have the shit part. But what is the job that you can deal with the shitty stuff because you love it so much? And I think that's when it comes to with acting, when you discover that you're on the wrong track, if you're taking, I think if you're taking roles that really make you feel like this is not the quality that I should be working on, I don't agree with the content, that kind of thing, you're off track. And I think for me personally, that was my sort of integrity and my value system, was like, you need to change the balance. You can't do it this way. And that might mean that in your life, I would say this is normal for 99% of actors, you will have another job. And so I'm very pro having other jobs. I think the balance part is about having another job that makes you feel good still and feeds you in some way, and that could be completely unrelated or it could be complementary. Like, for example, I know a few actors that do things like yoga teaching or Pilates teaching and that kind of thing, and that works really well because it supports your physical well-being and your mental well-being as an actor, which you need, and as well your physical abilities ability as an actor. They're really complementary things. Or it could be that you go into teaching. So you and I both do some teaching, and I found that going into teaching, actually, it kind of saved me a bit because it felt so rewarding, and it was the engagement that I was looking for that I wasn't really getting in acting. I don't think I was engaging the right way. And having gone through that journey of going into teaching, and now kind of, so I leant quite hard doing a lot of teaching, and now I'm sort of moving back towards more creative stuff. There's always that kind of balance and that flow in life. Having gone through that teaching process, I realised that I was maybe not involved in the right projects in the right way. I can see that actually the element of mentoring people and learning new things, that's all really important to me, and I wasn't prioritising that in my performing and in my creative stuff.
It's about knowing yourself and giving yourself permission to work on perhaps more select projects that are what you would consider to be quality rather than quantity. And that it's okay. That is okay. It's okay to have your side hustle and be focusing and still biting away and chip. But maybe spreading your energy so thin, again, is just, like you were saying before, it's giving that power away. It's not really knowing yourself and giving yourself that commitment and permission to be like, no, I consider myself to be an actor. I know my worth. I know, and not inflating yourself. You've still got to listen to feedback. You've still got to listen to those more experienced around you. And
but like,
take it. But knowing
know your worth.
Yeah,
I think that's really important. I think when we really sit in our own worth, we know what is useful feedback and what's just kind of chatter. Because
or
I think
opinion, or just
opinion.
You know,
opinion is not really useful and not really any of your business. You know, I think our job is to be creatives and storytellers, and part of it is there can be a big mindset shift in just believing that it is okay to be a creative and a storyteller in this world.
And your unique version of that is okay. I think that's my concern. We all try to mold ourselves into the things we hear around us. And some people just aren't your audience. Some people will think, you were talking about this the other day, some people will just think you're ugly. Some people
think you're ugly as shit.
They'll just be like, they're just not going to like you, and that's okay. And it's like, you've got to know your quality, obviously, if we're still talking about acting, and know that, okay, well, perhaps I'm not going to play the supermodel role. That's fine. So it's not about you know, you've still got to know yourself, but also some people just won't like your style of art. So it's that tricky balance between those things, I think.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. There's so many things to talk about in this. So I can talk for ages. I think in terms, I think if you can really look at your worth and look at the world and believe that what you have to put out in the world is worthwhile and of value, if you can really believe it and sit in it, you can hear all the feedback and opinions and you'll be able to tell what's real and what's not, and what's useful to you and what's not, and you'll be able to filter out that voice that says you need to fit in this box, because we do as actors need to fit in a box in a way, to an extent. Shall I talk about typing a bit and how that sort of fits in?
Briefly. I know. I have to wrap us up. It's been about 10 minutes.
Maybe we should talk about typing another time, because there's so much in typing.
Yeah, maybe we should. I think ultimately it's just maybe just touching on for a minute about, is it feedback? Is it opinion, or is it fact? So like you're saying, we have to fit in this box. And there are rules to acting. Like you've got to be a good actor. You've got to be believable. You've got to be authentic. You've got to have all the things that make you good enough to be on TV.
Yeah.
But then there's the part where, like, I think we were talking about this the other day, where some people love Brad Pitt. Some people hate Brad Pitt. Some people, it doesn't matter where you are in your career, there's always going to be a point where people are like, just don't really like you. And if you know yourself, that's where it comes back to that. It's that real wholesome trust in yourself. Wholesome, I don't think that's the right word, but it's that trust in
wholehearted
trust
nice, though.
in yourself.
Wholesome. It is wholesome.
Know that's okay. That person's just not my audience, but I'm going to keep, it's that line between, do I need to listen or not?
Honestly, I think I would encourage people to be your own gauge of that more often than we do, because even then you said, is it fact? I would challenge whether there are any facts in this business. Like, I think people can give you helpful information that may be true and hard to hear sometimes, but I would, some of it's pushing fact, because there are exceptions to every rule. There are and sometimes it's not helpful. It could be true, but if it's going to make you feel like rubbish and want to give up, shut that shit out. Like,
yes,
shut it down. Like, because the goal here is that you stay in the business. The goal is that you keep doing what you were born to do. What's inside you, you keep giving it. And if people keep on putting restraints on you that make you feel like you can only give this much of yourself, or you have to shape it in this way because of X, Y, Z,
or you should be doing something more serious. You really should just get a job now. You're 30.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know,
this world is not friendly to artists of any sort. It does not value art. So do
except
not
during
expect.
Corona. We are all Netflix. But yet no one wants to support the actors making the Netflix.
Yeah, and people don't want to pay for it, you know. I think that the thing is they will go, you know,
it's
in
like
a time like this.
Career. Why do you don't need to get paid for that? It's so much fun, right?
Yeah, you're just doing it for the fun of it. Like, well, it's unfortunate that we are driven to do something that is not rewarded by the world. But I think if we stop expecting the world to want to support us, and I think that's why one of the reasons why I'm so pro having other jobs that are maybe a bit more what the world can kind of understand, you know, like teaching or even, you know, arts admin, even stuff like voiceover. Weirdly, I think people understand a bit more because it can be a bit more corporate. It's really weird that people that I know quite a few actors that are celebrants as well. Stuff like that can fit in your life, and the world can kind of go, oh, okay, I can deal with you now. Because I think to a certain extent, you want the world to just give you a break. Like, you don't want to be hearing that stuff all the time because it can be pretty full on if you're hearing people blah blah blah. So I think we do need to keep ourselves well, look at the environment around us, and like, are you letting a bunch of people in your life talk that rubbish in your ear and make you feel like rubbish? Are you believing them? What do you need to do now to cut that out of your life? What can you do? If it's parents, like if you're young and you're living with parents, that's hard. And that is a step-by-step process. But I think we all have that in our lives. Everybody has people in their lives that don't understand what you're trying to do, I think.
Again, I think ultimately if there's a way that you can nourish yourself and give yourself confidence, that is going to help with all of that. I think it will drown them out a little bit more. Like, the voices will still be there, and there'll still be days where, of course, we're like constantly rejected in the creative world. So there's still going to be a lot of that rejection happening and a lot of self-doubt. But if you can do something to fuel that inner spot in you and that fire that keeps you going, it will help to rebuff some of that outside noise that you don't need to listen to. So find people that you can really trust, that have been in the industry for a long time, that give you constructive feedback. It's not that we want, I don't think, you know, anyone should live in a vacuum and just be like, oh, no matter what anyone says, I'm wonderful and everything's wonderful. It's not that, but find the voices that support you while also lifting you to that next spot and that next level and push you, I think.
Yeah, I think the people that give you that information when you need it, I think is helpful, not just throwing it at you. I've had a lot of people that I looked up to in the course of my career that gave me that kind of like unsolicited advice that was hard for me to hear. And they were right in the sense of that there were people that were sort of talking to me about where I fit in the industry and the kind of work that I should be making or whatever, that kind of thing. And that was hard to hear because, well, I'm getting off track now, but we talked about how I think everybody wants to feel like the leading lady or the leading man as a young leading lady or leading man. And you might not be that. And it can be helpful to be told that you're not that. But it also might not be what you need right now. And I think it's okay to go right now and need to be surrounded with people that do tell me that I'm good. You know, that's okay to need that for a while while you're learning and while you're growing until you feel that worth. If you don't feel worthy, you probably don't need to hear that stuff. So stop seeking it out. I think sometimes we chase it. Please tell me what I'm bad at or where I fit.
I think what I want to wrap us up with is, you know, we've talked about what you do while you wait. So we're not saying that your role isn't coming. It might happen tomorrow. You might write the best book you've ever written tomorrow. You might paint the best picture, artwork, you know. You might do your best work and get that recognition from, you know, the community that look, it is good to have, but also you might not. And also, even if you do that and you get that recognition, is it really going to fill you up inside if you still don't think you're worthy? Anyway, so it's considering that, and yeah, that's why just considering knowing yourself, consider supporting yourself, consider defining your own limits and what is success to you. But also what I wanted to talk about today is 3 short little things, and that's mental health, purpose, and exhaustion and creative burnout. So I think, like you were saying before, there is always some reason to not feel good enough, always. And I don't just mean as creative people, I just mean as daily life people. As someone who's had in the past and sometimes in the present mental health moments, I will call them, there is always times when everything just feels crap and it feels too much and it feels overwhelming. And I think especially while we're waiting in this corona environment, and especially just generally as humans, I really want to flag that supporting your mental health is so important, and there are lots of ways you can do that. I'm going to pop some links underneath here to things like, there's the Mental Health and Wellness Support Act, there's Lifeline that you can reach out to, there's Beyond Blue, there's Headspace, there's Head to Health, there's the Black Dog Institute. There's so many places that you can go to and call, and some of them even have like text chats that you can just text if you're more millennial than I am, I don't know, or you just can't cope with talking to someone, because sometimes you wake up and you're just like, no, today is too much, I can't even talk to someone. Please just reach out to someone, even if it's your cat or someone that you don't know very well but you think they're a really nice person, or maybe it's your mum, or maybe it's a mentor. Anyone, just please reach out and chat and support your mental health, and do things that make you feel good and nurture you. I don't know if it's yoga, or I don't know if it's meditation, I don't know if it's eating 20 kilos of chocolate, I don't know what it is, but do that thing that makes you feel good as much as possible, and try to recognize when things are starting to feel too much before they really are too much. And please reach out. Has there been moments and things that have supported you when you felt like, I'm sure you felt like that, you're a human being?
Yeah. So many times. And I wrote a blog on this, so I might even give you the link for that, Char, because I ended up reaching out to other artist friends and said, I'm in a low right now and I don't feel like I can keep going. What do you guys do when you feel like you can't keep going as a creative person? And there was lots of great examples, and a lot of them were very practical, but I'll sort of focus on the resources. I think that there are a couple of really good books that will feed you and bring you back to kind of your authenticity and finding that creative part of you. Big Magic is one of those. I highly recommend it. The other one that's really, really popular is The Artist's Way. Lots of people have worked through that. That I think is a bit more for people that have never let themselves be creative, but it is still a good one to go through the process of bringing yourself back to what is that creative part of me, not just the industry part of me. You need to bring it back to the real part that drove you here. The other one is Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke. I'll never say it right, but that's basically for someone that is. Are you familiar with it, Shah?
No, but I love the title.
Yeah, I mean, it's very old. So it's a poet, and a young poet that wrote to him and said, I want to be a poet. And they have like a bunch of letters, and they talk about what it's like to put yourself out there and be creative, and why you need to, and that kind of thing. I've actually only read bits of it. I have it on my shelf. I will get it out again.
Please, yeah.
Anyway, and one that's a bit newer, there is a site with a lot of resources called the Arts Wellbeing Collective. This is a fairly new organisation that came up, I think, only about a year or two ago, and I think a lot of that was in response to the Time's Up and Me Too movement. just realizing that lots of people are not okay in this industry, and we're very quietly not okay, and that in itself is not okay anymore. And that has a lot of resources, and I also have meditations on there that you can use that are specifically for artists and performance, to nourish that part of you, which is really helpful. I am also working on a self-care workbook for actors that I'm going to release soon. Once I stop being distracted by my other projects that I'm also doing. So get very excited, but I think it's needed. And in the workbook, it'll be free. And in the workbook, I'm talking about exactly what you're talking about: burnout, dealing with rejection, and just the simple things that also feed our practice, like doing grounding work, meditation, and those kinds of things. Because I think when we talk about self-care as actors, or as anybody, it can be a bit like, go and do a float or an infrared sauna or whatever, which is all very nice. But also we need to know, how do we set boundaries with people? How do we know ourselves?
Yeah.
How do we bounce back?
Yeah.
How do we talk to people on set when we're not comfortable? All that kind of thing. I think that's all self-care.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I'm going to put something together. It'll be ready soon, depending on, my fake corona and my son sleeping and that kind of thing. So,
well, let us know when it's
I'll let you know.
And, we will share it, and that will be amazing. It sounds amazing. The last thing I wanted to share is something that's happening Wednesday, 29th of April. So if you're listening to this in the future, I'm sorry. But it's called the Wellness Roadshow, and it's supported by Screen West, and it's a free show, and it's all about the fact that I'm reading it now. It says the show business is often glamorous, exciting, fun, well paid. Well, sometimes, but also the reality paints.
Is it though?
Is it? The reality paints a darker picture. So it's talking about the fact that anxiety symptoms in entertainment workers are 10 times higher, sleep disorders are 7 times higher, and symptoms of depression are 5 times higher than the national average. So there's going to be a panel there that are discussing the issues raised and all sorts of things. So that's called the Wellness Roadshow, and it's on Eventbrite. So you can go and look that up, and it's free to go to.
And there's also something on ABC iView at the moment. Have you seen this? I think it's called The Show Must Go On, and it's by an ex-Home and Away actor. He's put together this little doco about, basically what we're talking about how
that's it. That is what I'm talking about. I just failed to mention that. The event includes the documentary.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so they're tied together. Oh,
they are tied together. So there's a panel.
Aren't we a good team?
We're like, I know.
Yeah.
We're in sync. Well. Look, I think maybe that's a nice place to stop. I think that's a lot for your earlobes. And thank you if you're out there and you're listening, and just know that you are enough. It is hey, keep going, keep being the unique, fabulous version of you that you are. Whatever you are writing, whatever you are creating, whatever you are acting, whatever you are doing, please know that it's enough, and you are growing and learning, and no one expects you to be anything other than where you are right now. Just please support yourself, and please lift someone up who might need lifting up around you as well, if you can, because we're all in that circle, and there's always someone behind. I don't like the word behind, but coming up, and I think it's a moving circle, so you never know where someone is on it currently. So thank you, Sarah, for joining me today. Where can we find your blog and your Instagram account, please?
Oh, yes. The Insta is the Creative Actor blog, and the blog is the-creative-actor.com. And I can send you some little links, and things like that. And
that we mentioned. Yeah, it would be great if you could send them, and I'll pop them in the comments under this podcast and under this video as well.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. I've so enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone out there in podcast land. And hopefully we'll be back with another podcast soon about something relevant and exciting. Until then, thank you so much, and be well and stay safe.
Thank you for listening to Post-Traumatic Stress. To connect with us or to register to come on the podcast, visit us at www.lettingcharlotteout.com or email us via postdramaticstresspod@gmail.com.